Hello everyone. How are you doing? How are you holding up in this crazy winter storms if you're in the contiguous United States? I guess if you're somewhere else, how are you holding up there? We've been doing great, just trying to keep the water flowing. I guess the hot water going into our bathroom froze, but other than that, we still have water. Also, Kawasaki had her babies underneath the house, under my bedroom, and me and my son had to go underneath the house, like crawl under there and bring them out. I had like a blanket or a towel, that's what it was. I had a towel and I just kind of put them all in a towel and handed them to him, and then I crawled out, and then Kawasaki followed, and that's why I'm filming over here, because they're kind of in my spot, which is fine. They look great there. As you may know by now, I'm from Missouri. I live about a half an hour from Springfield and have for most of my life. I lived in Cape Girardeau for a while, Sykeston area, but only about a year. I've spent most of my life around here. When Dee Dee Blanchard was killed in her house and her daughter went missing in June of 2015, it was extremely shocking news to this whole community, and I'm sure the community in Louisiana that they came from. But it was very shocking for this community to hear it, because a lot of people had donated to Gypsy, to her, for her medical bills and things like that, and for her vacations and things. A lot of people had helped them out, so it was very shocking. And as more and more information came out, we found ourselves just constantly more shocked. The shocking didn't stop. Finding out Gypsy wasn't taken, she took herself. She wasn't disabled, she'd walk just fine, pretty much. And that she was behind the murder of her mother had everybody confused and sad and then mad. It just general confusion, I think.
New details on the bizarre cross-country murder case after two horrifying posts on Facebook led police to discover the truth behind Dee Dee Blanchard's death. Gypsy Blanchard, who pretended to be wheelchair-bound for years as part of a financial fraud, has now been charged for the death of her own mother. Neighbors and friends believed Blanchard to be disabled due to leukemia, but according to police, she can in fact walk fine without a wheelchair. The chilling murder case started Sunday when Dee Dee and Gypsy's shared Facebook page posted a creepy status. After concerned friends came to the family's home and got no response, police found Dee Dee dead inside, with Gypsy nowhere to be found. She got caught about 570 miles away in Wisconsin with her boyfriend, Godejohn. According to police, Gypsy has now admitted to writing the Facebook messages herself, likely several days after the killing. The alleged killer couple are now being held in Wisconsin on $1 million bail and are expected to be extradited to Missouri soon.
When Gypsy Rose's defense lawyers claimed that she had suffered from Munchausen syndrome by proxy, by her mom, I think most of us, even though we all know that murder is wrong, kind of felt like Gypsy Rose had no other way out. That's kind of the story I think that they wanted us all to believe. So here's the thing. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, though, is a habitual and horrible liar. Meaning, she lies a lot, and she's not particularly good at remembering what she said before, or maybe she thinks we won't remember.
This is actually kind of the first time I've been honest, besides being honest, with my attorneys. Even that, I haven't been completely honest with them, so.
I don't know, but it turns out that her desire for fame and celebrity status would be her undoing. After her early release from prison in December of 2023, she made herself as publicly visible as possible. And she kept telling her story over and over again. She had the Lifetime show and the Vile Files and, I don't know, Good Morning America or something like that. And it doesn't take like a keen ear or anything to notice when she tells 2 or 10 different stories about the same event and they don't match up or make sense, or they're just contradicted by the last story that she told about it, or publicly available evidence that anybody can look at and be like, whoa, this can't be true if this is true. Sometimes 2 things can be true at once, but not those 2 things. That it happens without you even realizing it. I really was a supporter of Gypsy even when she was being released. And in 2024, at the beginning of 2024, when she was first starting to do this influencer thing, I was like, oh, well, good for her, good for her. I don't know, I wasn't saying slay queen because that's kind of messed up. But I did think that she had an abusive, horrible childhood and that she was really messed up and that she deserved freedom and to have the opportunity to finally live her life her way or whatever, what everybody was thinking.
I was rooting for you! We were all rooting for you! How dare you!
But all I had to do was be her supporter long enough to hear her contradict herself enough times that I don't like being lied to. I don't like being lied to. Maybe it doesn't bother some people, but I would say most people don't like being lied to. That's disrespectful, right? And you feel disrespected, you feel hoodwinked, you feel taken for a ride. Not a great feeling, and Gypsy made me feel that. My turning point moment was probably the Vile Files when she said, I don't identify as a murderer.
I don't associate myself as a murderer because if you think about it, yes, I had a part to play in it. I asked Nick for help, but he's the one that did the actual kill, not me. I can't kill anyone. That's why he's in trouble to begin with, because he's the one that did it.
Yeah. That one got me, because up until that point I thought we were all collectively on the same page. Murder is wrong, but maybe she felt like she had no other way out, and as long as she feels like some kind of way about it, but she doesn't. She says she has no remorse for it, so okay, girl. Whatever. So, what is the true actual story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard? We may never know, probably will never know, because our star witness, unfortunately, is gone from this world forever. But I'm going to attempt to connect the threads that I can see clearly to the dots that we can confirm. I'll see what we have. I have a lot of opinions, and I will be sharing them freely, but I do try to stick to facts, and then if I don't think it's a fact, if I really haven't proved it to myself, it's absolutely a fact, then I'm not going to try and prove it to you guys. If I think it's alleged, or this is kind of tenuous, or we just don't have a lot of proof of this, I'll tell you that. Because that's just how the story has to be told. So much of it is allegations. There's not that's just kind of where we're at. When Gypsy is the source, I'll definitely let you know that. because as you will see, she's an unreliable narrator. Like most of the people we talk about here on this channel. I want to give some shout outs real quick before we do this to Becca Scoops and Sir Morbid X, Morgan Elena, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, Toddy One Skip, and the beautiful Nina for their amazing work on this subject. I have consumed literally so much of their content that I couldn't have done any of this without them. And also am just now able to get into this website that I heard about, but it was like password protected for a while, so I couldn't get in. But now it's back up, and it's the -murder -of D-D-Blanchard.co.uk. And this person has done an insane amount of like in-depth work of putting facts together about this case. And yeah, I haven't got a chance to really get into it yet, but I'm excited to, and that is, I did confirm something through them, so I had to make sure to put that thank you in this video. So thank you to all of those creators. And also, before I found Gypsy's new book online, I had listened to her audiobook of her new book she just released, that travesty, on 2 separate lives by a creator called What Da Bug, who's an absolute delight. Oh, yeah, and thanks, Fancy, I guess, for betraying your friends to show us all these medical records. Okay, guys, time for history class. When the British people expelled the Acadian people from Nova Scotia in 1755 during the French and Indian War, their unique French and Native American culture had already been forming for over 100 years. Since many of these original settlers in Acadia came from France, where they were persecuted for their religious beliefs, they were deeply Catholic and defensive of it. And Britain was real big on that Anglican Church of England at the time. So there was a big compatibility problem. They were also, some of them, Scottish and anyone else from Europe who was fed up with the religious and political control over there. About 6,000 survivors were scattered throughout the American colonies, from New England to the Carolinas, where they were forced to labor as indentured servants, and the West Indies. This description of their plight came to be known as, I'm going to try and say this, Le Grand Dérangement, which means the Great Dispersal, or gathering. When several hundred of these refugees of the first state-sponsored ethnic cleansing in North American recorded history came to the bayous of Louisiana, those that survived the perilous journey came in family groups that had already lived, laughed, and loved together for centuries. A couple more Acadian shove-offs occurred in 1765 and 1785, and many of these joined their old countrymen in the originally Spanish, then French, Louisiana territory.
Cajuns, Acadians, Acadiens. They were the descendants of the first European settlers in an area called l'Acadie, which is today eastern Canada. Quebec, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Cape Breton, all that. Now in the late 1600s, early 1700s, the Acadians found themselves caught in between 2 colonial empires in New England and New France. When the Acadians refused to sign an oath of allegiance to fight for the British king, New England and British regular troops would embark on what is known as the first recorded ethnic cleansing of people in North America. Between 1755 and 1785, half of the total Acadian population were killed by starvation, drowning, and violence. And during this forced relocation, thousands of Acadians made their way into Spanish Louisiana, and it was capped off in 1785 when Spanish King Carlos III sponsored 7 ships to take thousands of Acadians to Louisiana, with nearly all of them settling in the Bayou Lafourche area.
After the United States purchased said territory in 1803, and the state of Louisiana was created in 1812, Americans moved in and forced many Cajuns off the good, fertile lands and into the swamps and the prairies. In what has come to be called Cajun country today, these Cajun people formed a new culture that is an interesting blend of the aforementioned well-established Acadian culture from Canada with French, Spanish, and Southeastern Native American traditions, occupations, and genetics, all colored with mystical type of Catholicism. Their incredibly unique dialect is not exactly English, not entirely French, and even has some Native American terms still in use today. These people have a lot of flavor in all the ways, and their dialect, their culture deserves respect, and I even admire them for their strong sense of community and their independence from authority. I also have quite the independent streak, so I vibe with that. Now, the fortunate thing about these Bayou families living, laughing, and loving together through the centuries is that the rich and colorful heritage of this creative, happy, fun-loving people is still with us, alive and kicking, even through government-enforced Americanization attempts. They've managed to hold on to their language, musical and religious traditions, and their bayous. Now, the unfortunate side of this is that this longevity of culture was brought about by a lot of endogamy, sort of marrying within your community continuously, to where the same genetic information is getting passed back and forth between the same families. And dare I say, consanguineous marriage. Consanguineous means you share some blood. And that has led to the same problem that isolated communities always have, like Ashkenazi Jews, anytime a community is isolated like that for a long time, genetic disorder. I don't want to spread any prejudice about the Cajuns, because God knows they've had enough of that. So that's not what I'm trying to do. It's just something that's indicated in the scientific literature that this group has been studied specifically because of the prevalence of, like, genetic anomalies, chromosome disorders and things. And it's not like they're marrying their siblings or children or anything like that. At least I think that's extremely rare if it happens. But there's a lot of first and second cousin marriages, and I noticed in my genealogy research the same 5 or 6 families tend to keep marrying each other. In one case, on the unconfirmed side of Gypsy Rose's tree, we had a woman marry a man and had a couple kids with him, and then 10 years later married that guy's brother. Her children by those men are half-siblings and first cousins to each other. That's not consanguinity. But it is definitely endogamy, right? There were also a lot of dead children, or children who passed the day, at their birth, the day they were born, or soon after, a few months old, which is very depressing to find. Now, Gypsy Rose Alcida Blanchard was born July 27th, 1991, in Raceland, Louisiana, according to her new book, My Time to Stand, or Golden Meadow, according to Wikipedia. Both are in Lafourche Parish. I guess it's not important. They're two different towns, though. This will not be the last inconsistency that we come across. So, be prepared.
Yeah, be prepared. We'll be prepared. For what?
For inconsistency to be the norm. Can you hear the puppies? Her parents were both Cajun, with family names that go all the way back to the expulsion from Nova Scotia. Her father is Rod Blanchard, born, I believe, March 25th, 1973. He's a little murky, he's a little murky to find stuff on. He is the unconfirmed side of the tree that I mentioned a moment ago. Like the man don't want to be found. Her mother was Claudine Ann Petrie, born May 3rd, 1967 in Choctaw, Louisiana. It's also in Lafourche Parish. I think she may come from the line of, let's see if I can read this, Jean Petrie de Benoc, who died in Port Royal, Nova Scotia in 1689, per this random YouTube comment. But I can't confirm that. Claudine, known as Dee Dee or Dee or even Dino by her friends and family, had several siblings and one little brother, Todd. His obituary says that he was born and passed away on November 22nd, 1969. Remember, I said that this will include dead children, but that's the last one that I'm going to talk about specifically, I think, as far as I know. Just know it wasn't, the only one that I found in the family trees. I believe total there are 6 Petrie kids, and Gypsy says in her book that half of those children are named after their father, Claude. So we have Claude Jr., Claudia, and Claudine are Dee Dee. Dee Dee was a lovely little thing. In 1986, she became the ROTC queen at their local high school. Her family has kind of suggested that she had baby of the family syndrome a little. Could do no wrong in mom and dad's eyes. Might have been a bit of a spoiled dreamer type. I can relate to that. Who can't relate to that? Except for Bobby Petrie and Dee Dee's stepmom, Laura, everyone else in the family said that she was a joy to be around. Was overall a decent person. She was clever and funny, and she was a real storyteller from the beginning. Just a really entertaining person. Enjoyed entertaining everybody, I think. Maybe enjoyed the attention and getting everybody to laugh with her.
You what, baby?
What was Dee Dee like as a child?
What was Dee Dee like as a
Dee Dee?
child?
She was okay. We were pretty close, me and her. Yeah, I'd give her everything that she wanted anyway, whatever she wanted, and except a dog in the house. I didn't want that. Now we wind up, we got 2 dogs in the house. But she was something else.
In a live, remember I thanked Sir Morbid? This is why Sir Morbid had a live panel and had Dee Dee's friend Suzette come on, and that was one of the most interesting things that I've heard was that live and listening to her talk for a couple of hours about Dee Dee and how she used to be. They were friends in high school, and then a little bit into their adulthood, and then they had kind of a falling out. I guess her name is Suzette, and I guess Suzette was into this guy, and she was supposed to go to the movies with them, and he stood her up, and then, then he told her that the reason that he stood her up was because Dee Dee had called him and said, oh, you don't want to go out with her, like, she's just talking bad about you behind your back, just something like that, so some kind of a little tiff between them over a guy.
Yeah, she was always a year older than me and a grade older than me. We were best friends until, I guess, about 80, 88, 89. She did me wrong, so I stopped being friends with her. Well, started dating this guy, and I found out she was talking to him behind my back. And we were supposed to meet up at the movie theater, and she called him and told him not to go. That all I do was talk shit about him and that I wanted nothing to do with him and I was using him. So he stood me up at the movies, and then he told me what she did, and I called her and told her I wanted nothing to do with her.
But she gave us a lot of anecdotes about Dee Dee as a young woman that paint her in a much more positive, probably more balanced light than what we had seen previously when Gypsy was controlling the narrative. Dee Dee is apparently my kind of weird. Suzette mentions that she dipped her fries in her vanilla ice cream, and like, girl, same, me too. That is so good. And she's like, that's so weird. And I'm like, no, that's not weird. That's awesome. Also, photos of her at a concert are actually featured in a Richard Marx music video, no joke. Hold On to the Nights, and it was performed in little old Thibodaux, Louisiana. We also get the true story behind her lying about dating rock stars. It apparently happened once, and they were all still in school.
Is that a thing? Because in high school, was she popular? Was Dee Dee popular? Good looking? Was she like prom queen?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, no, not prom queen. She was in ROTC, so she was ROTC queen. But she wasn't really popular, but she was popular with her crowd, not throughout the whole school. But we had home ec together, which is home economics, and we sat at tables, and we sat at the same table, and she would tell us these stories of her with band members, how like she was dating one of the guys from Night Ranger, and I grew up in a very sheltered life, so I was like, she sounds like fun. I want to get to know her. I want to be friends with her. So we started talking, and that's how we became friends. And we did go to concerts together. There's a video of Richard Marx.
Yeah.
That she's in the video.
Oh, she's in the video of Richard. What kind of video of Richard Marx?
It's
That song was released in '87.
No,
college.
I was in college because I went to Nichols, and I got cheap tickets because I was at Nichols, and I gave her one of the tickets, and we went to the concert.
Interesting.
Yeah. And we
wow.
did go to we went to other concerts in New Orleans, and we had this thing where we would try to meet the band members after, like at the concert, whatever concert we went to, we'd try to meet some of the band members. And Night Ranger went to New Orleans at UNO Lakefront Arena, and me and her went, and she said, we went after the concert, we would hurry up and go to the back of the venue to meet them when they're going to their tour buses. And she told me, when he comes out, I'm gonna grab him and you take the picture. So that's what we did. And when the singer came out, it was Jack Blades, I think his name is. He came out, and she's like, hey, Jack, it's Dee Dee. And he said, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And she grabbed him by the arm, and she took a picture with him. And then she got the film developed and told everybody that like that was her boyfriend. Like she put it up in her room and showed everybody.
That's the story I heard, that she told everyone it was her boyfriend.
Yeah, and I'm the one that took the picture. And he didn't seem like they were a couple. You know, like he had never met her before.
Well, yeah, he said, "Nice to meet you."
Yeah, but that was Dee Dee. That she would tell stories like that.
What are some qualities that you could kind of like remember?
Well, in Christmas Eve of 1987, my cousin had passed away, and that night, Christmas Eve night, we were all supposed to go to the greenhouse. That was our local hangout. And when I woke up Christmas Eve morning that I found out my cousin had died, I called Dee Dee and Titania, and I'm like, "Look, I can't go. My cousin just passed away. I'm not up for it. I'm going to church to midnight mass, and then I'm coming back home." Well, Dee Dee said, "We'll meet you at church. We're gonna go to church with you and meet you at midnight mass." So I had my little brother with me, and him were going to church because we didn't want to have to go Christmas morning. And Dee Dee met me in the parking lot, and she had brought some Jack Daniels from her dad's alcohol cabinet or liquor cabinet, whatever. And she brought some cups, and she said, "You need to come to my car." So I went to her car, and she said, "Here, we're gonna toast to your cousin." And we did a toast to him, and then she came with me to church. And they sat with me, her and Titania. I think Titania was there. I don't remember. I just remember Dee Dee with the alcohol. They sat with me in church, and then they went on their merry way, and I went home. But that's the kind of friend she was. You know, like she knew how I was hurting because my cousin passed away, and she came to church with me and wanted to toast to him.
Oh wow, you're not kidding about Dee Dee being in the Richard Marx Hold On.
I'm watching it right now.
Nice. There she is at the bottom right.
Yep.
Are you? You're not in here.
Look how pretty she is.
No, I was hiding behind the cameraman.
So, I think this has been way overblown to make Dee Dee look bad. A common theme and a big reason why I wanted to make this video, you know, just kind of straighten things out, balance things out a little bit. Or what I mean to say is, that's why I want to make this whole series, is to just bring balance back to the force, you know. Dee Dee and Rod, so the story goes, met at a bowling alley / bar when he was 17 and she was about 23. After a couple of months of what seems to me just a whirlwind infatuation, Dee Dee announces she's pregnant, and the two shotgun wedding themselves into a short and messy marriage December 27th, 1990. That's the year I was born. Apparently Rod had a touch of the wandering dick syndrome because Dee Dee was apparently greeted by this pregnant girl at her door after she had Gypsy. Or maybe she was still pregnant at that time. But this girl shows... No, she must have already had her, because she... Yeah. She was greeted with a pregnant girl who was like maybe 16? Barely 16? Almost 16? At her door, while she was married to Rod, who claimed that he was the baby daddy, and she was asking for money for an abortion, and the thoroughly pro-life Catholic Dee Dee was like, no, I'm not gonna do that, no. But, you know, I'll give you diapers or whatever, I'll help you out if I can. So, there's a rumored, it's not even really a rumor, but I kind of want to protect her privacy, so I didn't really go into it too much. I think the girl definitely exists. Another sibling there. Gypsy actually addresses it in her memoir, so I think it's pretty much confirmed, but anyway, just remember that, because I'm going to bring this up again later, like in another video, so I don't know. So remember that Dee Dee was pro-life. But another sibling that's never been a secret is Dylan Blanchard, who, if I'm understanding everything correctly, was born around the same time that Gypsy was, to a Christy Mathern, later Blanchard. That's our Christy Blanchard today. According to Rod and Christy, they started their romantic relationship soon after Rod left Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose when she was just a baby, or maybe even before birth, it kind of looks like he had 3 different women pregnant around the same time. But I don't know, I wasn't there. Thank God, because I don't want to see that. One of the reasons that I think her book is trash, but we'll get to that later. Way, way later. I'm trying to go in order here. As far as I can guess from the clues, they didn't actually get married until around Mia's birth, which would have been 2001. Which means that Rod and Dee Dee may have been on again, off again 9 or 10 years? But I unfortunately can't confirm that. So, big grain of salt with that one. Someone said on a comment section somewhere on the interwebs that Rod and Dee Dee didn't officially divorce until 1994, which means Rod was present in Gypsy's life for at least 2, if not 3 years. If true, I think this is extremely important to remember too, for later. Now, when Gypsy was born, she was tiny, with microcephaly, which means she had a smaller than normal skull size, and weak little muscles. She had... the puppy got stuck under a blanket. Your puppy's stuck! The puppy was stuck. She had eyes that crossed, and digestive issues, as well as problems swallowing liquid, causing her to need a feeding tube for nourishment. You hear the puppies over there? They woke up hungry. According to a letter from a guy, the doctor, who would later help prop up the Munchausen by proxy claims, is featured in the HBO documentary Mommy, Dead and Dearest. Gypsy was born very early, before the 8th month of pregnancy, and she required 4 months in the NICU. She would stop breathing when she was sleeping, a condition called sleep apnea, and required a breathing monitor while she slept.
Right from birth, 3 months old, Dee Dee was telling me that she had sleep apnea, and she needed a breathing machine or breathing monitor machine, which, I mean, till this day, I don't know if that was real or not. You know, it escalated from then. Problems with her eyes, hearing, her digestive system. After that, Gypsy couldn't walk anymore. She had a muscular disorder. Dee Dee told me she would need a wheelchair.
And she also got tubes put in her ears because of frequent ear infections. Interestingly, the Human Genome Project was started in 1990, just before Gypsy's birth. It wasn't considered like most of the way completed until 2003. Rod claims in a documentary that Dee Dee already knew that her daughter had a chromosome disorder, but the medical establishment at that time were pretty clueless about which one it could be that was affecting little baby Gypsy Rose.
You know, and I asked her, I said, man, she's got a lot of issues. What's going on, you know? And they had done some tests and found out she had a chromosome disorder that was causing all of her functions from developing, her digestive system and her muscular system. Dee Dee told me she's not gonna live to be, 18 years old. She may be an old teenager. That's about it. I was like, really? It was shocking. It was disturbing. And to see her 23 years old now, perfectly healthy, it pisses me off,
According to the murder of Dee Dee Blanchard.co.uk, when Christy was going ape on Facebook groups promoting the Munchausen syndrome by proxy narrative, she failed to mention that, quote, way back in 2001, when Gypsy was 9 years old, she was diagnosed as having a genetic disorder identified in 2011 as the chromosome disorder 1q21.1 microdeletion syndrome, end quote. Mapping out the human genome like that allowed the medical community to have real physical tests for chromosome disorders and knowledge about the causes and symptoms of the myriad deletions and duplications that can occur in our DNA, furthering our collective understanding of how chromosomes work and what traits each one turns on or off. Just pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. But 2011 is 4 years before the murder. And we are jumping ahead. So we have to go back in time now to the 1990s.
How old are you? You're 1? And where's your cranial? Very good. And where's your findalis? Yes. Very, very good.
I really didn't think any abuse was going on.
As I said, Gypsy was born in 1991 and had issues from birth. She was clearly spoiled rotten by her family. By none more so than Dee Dee, it seems. I think, me personally, it was because they were afraid she wasn't going to make it. But also, I mean, look at her. Look at her, she's so cute. She's so stinking cute when she was little. In all these pictures and clips, I can imagine it would be hard not to want to give this girl, like, everything. Give her the world on a string. She's so adorable, and she seems so sweet. At least back then.
He's the one that did the actual kill, not me. I can't kill anyone. That's why he's in trouble to begin with.
Because he's the one that did it.
Also, you know, in and out of hospitals from birth, Gypsy's always been small and kind of weak, maybe, you know, physically weak. And I think that Gypsy then and Gypsy now brings out this defensive mama bear within people that drives them to want to be way overprotective of her for some reason. I mean, it still happens to this day. Look at Bree. Now, Rod says that they got divorced or he left around his 18th birthday, which was March 25th of 1991. Again, I don't know if those timelines are right or not, but in any case, whenever that was, 91, 94, Dee and Gypsy lived with the Petries for a while. Grandpa Claude and Grandma Emma. And either this is the time period when Dee Dee worked as a nurse's aide in the same facility with Christy and the woman who would later become her stepmother, Laura. Supposedly these three women worked together in the same, like, hospital. And this is the only place it seems to me like it should really go in the timeline. Either this or, like, the late 80s before Gypsy was born. But I don't know, I wasn't there. But in My Time to Stand, Gypsy says that it's at this point that she quit her job. So she must have been working there and then now she quits. I just don't know if I can rely too much on her narrative, because
She taught me how to be a good liar, a very good liar, without any conscience.
So actually, now that I'm reading the memoir from hell itself, I noticed that Gypsy Rose tells us right after her birth that Rod tried to make it work with Dee Dee again for a little while. And they lived in a rented or mortgaged house together for some undisclosed amount of time. And then Dee and Gyp moved in with Claude and Emma. I find this so interesting either way, because Rod will later say some things in an interview that he didn't know if Gypsy really had health problems from birth or not, that he was relying on what Dee Dee had told him. But Gypsy is saying in her own work here that her dad was there from the very beginning of her life, so somebody's lying. Maybe everybody. When Emma Gisclair Petrie passes away, June 9th of 1997, remember that date, June 9th. Little Gypsy Rose is 5 years old. Claude moves to a new house with his new wife, Laura, the one from the hospital, leaving Dee and Gypsy that old house. Dee Dee's brother, however, thinks that their mom wanted him to have it, some kind of verbal agreement between them, so the girls leave and stay with Dee Dee's godmother. The godparents thing is really big down there, I guess because of the Catholic connection. Yeah, I think Claudia was Gypsy's godmother, and then I heard that Brie with defects is Gypsy's baby's godmother. I'm jumping again. I'm jumping ahead. Don't do that. Okay. So anyway, that doesn't last long. So at some point they're staying in the Ronald McDonald House for a few weeks in New Orleans. Sometime around, I think it's in 2002. And then they moved to a HUD house in Golden Meadow. Or Thibodeau. Another inconsistency. This time, both of these facts are in her new book, and they're just chapters away from each other, like sitting there, contradicting each other. We went from here to here to here. We went from here to here to there. And, like, it can't be both. At some point, they also lived in, I think the last place that they lived was Slidell. Slidell is where she said she started her Lady Moon time. She graphically tells us about starting her first Lady Moon time. It's a very graphic book. I don't recommend it to actual child abuse victims or anybody like that. Big trigger warning. The name of it should have been Trigger Warning. So, sorry if this timeline is off or wrong on anything. I think you can probably see why it would be hard to nail it down. It's like everyone involved has a different story, and then Gypsy Rose has like 30 different stories. So, you know, I'm just trying to piece things together that seem like they could be right. Gypsy says in one version of her story that her mother first put her in a wheelchair around the age of 8 after she got into a motorcycle accident with her grandpa Claude. I question this because I don't know. I question this like I question everything she says, but I'm just telling you what Gypsy said. In any case, sometime during this period before 2005, before Gypsy was 14, that is, she told a doctor she was a Louisiana champion in wheelchair racing. And we do have this photo from her new book of her and her dad at the Gumbo Games. From photographs I've seen, Dee Dee was kind of a chunky little kid, and it's been said that she intentionally lost a bunch of weight, so by the time she was a beauty queen, she looked like a beauty queen. She was really beautiful. She looked like an energetic and happy person for most of her life. Although she had already started to gain a little normal amount of weight when the accident happened. May 29th, 2001, Dee and Gyp were in a car accident that must have been pretty bad. Christy Blanchard said Dee's foot was nearly severed. And there are photographs of her in recovery with the pins in her foot and the brace. Hey, your baby's crying. Kasaki, your baby's crying. You can tell that she's suffering but happy and starting to gain weight from being wheelchair/bedbound. And maybe you're wondering why I'm bringing up her body or whatever. It's because Gypsy is not the only one who needed expensive medical care or ongoing palliative care. And I want to show you that this accident destroyed Dee Dee's foot and really her ability to work. Because of reduced mobility and a really bad case of diabetes, not to mention a complete hysterectomy at some point because she had cancer, this once vibrant and happy lady went downhill extremely quickly. Compare this photo in 2001 of Dee's recovery to how she looks just after the move to Aurora, Missouri, 4 or 5 years later. Comparing the Aurora Dee Dee to Volunteer Way Dee Dee is even sadder. The woman was physically falling apart. By the time of her death, she would weigh 255 pounds on her 5'2" frame. She was missing her appendix, her gallbladder, her uterus, her ovaries, and her fallopian tubes. Now, back to Louisiana. Sometime in this period, they also stayed with, this is later, Grandpa Claude and the step-grandma Laura. Claude tells a story where Gypsy claimed she saw her mom put Roundup in Laura's food. I wanted to include this incident because people on the internet love to bring it up, you know, like it's a fact that Dee Dee did this. When the actual story, as Claude tells the story, is that Gypsy told Claude and everybody that. No one else witnessed it. No police reports were filed. There's no medical or legal evidence of any kind. It's just Gypsy's word. And it just seems to me like if I thought that my stepdaughter had actually poisoned me, I would find out for sure. I wouldn't just let it be rumors for 20 years or whatever. Like, that doesn't make sense. She also claimed and went into horrible detail in her new book that sometime in her childhood, I guess several different occasions, I don't know, that Claude sexually abused her and her mom. Again, no charges filed, no evidence whatsoever, not even a family corroboration. The sole source of this story is also Gypsy. And Claude outright denied it. He even claimed that it was the opposite and that Gypsy was like running up on him and making him uncomfortable. And I know I thought at first, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, that's, of course a groomer would say that, but it's Gypsy.
She taught me how to be a good liar.
You'll see what I mean. If you've read that yucky book of hers, then you probably already do. So, for the sake of not working on the script for 3 months, and this video not being 6 hours long, we're going to break it up into pieces, and I think this would be a good place to stop for now so that it doesn't get too long, and then we'll start the next part in 2005 with Hurricane Katrina and the exodus from Louisiana to Aurora, Missouri. So, I hope you enjoyed this history class. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you have studied this case, did I miss anything? Did I put anything out of order? Do you think I was too nice to Dee Dee? or too nice to Christy the homewrecker Blanchard? I missed you guys and I want to hear your thoughts on all of this. Thank you for watching. I hope you will consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I have several sections already kind of written up for part 2 and for part 3, so those will be coming soon. And if you don't want to miss out on them, I love you guys. Happy New Year. I'll see you next time. Bye.
How would you describe your mom?
Unique. I mean, I used to always think that maybe she's a little overprotective. And so if I had to say one word about her, it would be overprotective.